Hey, thanks for stopping by Minnesota Black Robe Regiment. It has been a long time since I've actually done a studio type video. I've only done two in the last few weeks because I was fighting the coof, and as most of you know, it was no joke. It was not fun, but hey, look, I survived. So I guess I'm one of the 99 point. I'm a hero because I survived. Um, Make sure that you're subscribed. Make sure you're checking out the bell icon down there so that you're getting notifications now that I'm going to be making videos again. Today, we are lucky or blessed or however you want to say it to have Pam and Lois with us. Pam is Pam is in the presence of greatness because she is overshadowed by Lois, who happens to be the mother-in-law of of a gubernatorial candidate, Mike Marty from is it officially Dodge County?
Dodge County.
Yeah.
Yes.
So if you watch me talk to Lois, I have her video up on my Rumble channel where we talk a little, just very briefly, about why she was so supportive of her son-in-law, because like we all know that mother-in-laws and son-in-laws are not supposed to get along, but Lois really likes Mike and really wants him to be governor. And
Great.
she spoke glowingly of him, and she's and the really neat thing about that is like if he wins, he stays in Minnesota, so she can't get rid of him that way. So she must really actually like him. So Pam and Lois, thanks for being here. Thanks for asking to come on and talk about Constitutional Live. Um, Introduce yourselves, Pam or Lois, whichever one of you wants to go first. Tell me a little bit about, and the tens and tens of people that'll see this, a little bit about yourselves and how you ended up deciding you wanted to guide a conversation about the Constitution.
Go ahead.
Okay, me first. Okay,
Sure.
awesome. Well, I'm Pam Miller. I was born and raised in Rochester, Minnesota, and moved out to the Casson area when I got married um, 30 plus years ago. And then we ended up in Mantorville. And we bought 6 acres and then divided off the south 3. And that's how Lois became our neighbor. She bought the south 3 from us. And so um, we have been neighbors for 25 plus years. And only recently, I suppose I was awake to all of these issues in our country before her a few years, but uh, she kind of became awake. Maybe it's a year and a half or so now. I don't know. And we started having conversations and over at campfires. And lo and behold, of course, we have the same spiritual perspectives and respect for our Constitution and this country's founding, perspectives. And we we've just had continued conversations and found connections in Rochester, Minnesota, to some patriot groups. And it was through the Fear No More Patriot group out of Rochester, Minnesota, who we got involved with. Gosh, it might have only been January of this year or so, and found out they were going to be offering for the first time the Constitutional Life 6-week course. And we jumped right on the bandwagon and took that ourselves. And then we were just so impressed and with the course itself, and more particularly, I suppose, how much we learned and how much we realized we didn't know, and how much responsibility we learned that just the everyday citizen in America has abdicated in in overseeing these officials like we're really supposed to be doing. And so, we talked and we said we want to just move right ahead and become coaches and offer this to people out in Dodge County area. And so that's what we did. And so now we're preparing for our first class, a 6-week course, which starts on September 20th, and it is a 6-week course on Mondays only every week for 6 weeks.
Where are you going to be doing that course at?
We are blessed. We had reached out to actually the Mantorville Saloon. We have freedom to imbibe in this country, I guess, still too. But after they got rid of prohibition years ago, right? But not that I'm a big drinker or anything, but we're looking for places, to hold it, and my husband had mentioned to reach out to them, and they own the old VFW hall, which is pretty much right next door to the Mantorville Saloon, which is across from the Hubble House. For those of you that know Mantorville, or when you get here, you'll see the Hubble House. And so they offered us they're remaking that into a place that can hold like events or meeting
Kind
groups.
of a little event center for
Yeah,
Mantorville.
right. And they, I just asked them, would they be willing to let us either have it there for a reduced price or for free possibly, and they just were very willing to just, yep, you can have it for free. So
Well, that's, one, it's good advertisement for them, and two, I'm sure you
Right.
probably told them a little bit about what it was about, which probably helped.
Right.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
they're actually kind of game. They're thinking that they would like to be a part of this. So
So the owners or the managers are thinking about taking
yeah,
part on Mondays?
yeah, possibly,
Okay.
possibly.
Yeah, that'd be great.
So
So I don't want to throw any of us under the bus here and talk about school, because people look at us and kind of figure out it's been a while since all of us graduated.
Mhm.
Uh, I'm old enough to have graduated, but not old enough to actually have gotten a sheepskin. But as the old saying goes, when they used to hand you your diploma and it was all printed out on sheep leather. But
Mhm.
some of this Constitution stuff should be pretty basic for some of us that are, that maybe have been out of school for quite a while. But I'm running into a lot more people who say, hey, even when, people in their 70s and, late 70s and 80s are like, even when I was in school, we literally did not talk about this
oh,
that much, even in civics.
no,
They
no,
don't even teach civics anymore, right? So,
right.
but I remember civics classes and government classes, and there was very little, if any, talk about the Constitution or the framing of the Constitution. Is that your experience when you were in school?
Yeah.
For me, it is. I mean, I honestly, I don't hardly remember even, um, you know, talking about it that much, I guess.
I don't either. Like, and for me, a civics class, I don't remember one that would have been like required versus an elective that I didn't take,
Right.
I wasn't into that at the time.
Right. I mean, even the civics and government classes that were around when I was, in high school, in junior high, back when we still called it junior high, not middle school, right?
Right.
Um, the those classes were all about the branches of government, the legislative and the executive and the judicial, and there was very little talk about their constitutional roles, but all about the
Oh,
separation of those roles, and not even why there has to be a separation of those powers.
Mm,
Which,
that's very
if
interesting.
you don't have a constitutional basis to understand that,
Mhm.
then you really can't have an understanding of why any of those powers should be separate, which is, kind of brought us to where you two ladies kind of came awake and said, and I've picked up on this with other people in other conversations. How can the governor do what he's doing? How can the mayor
that's right.
do what the mayor is doing? Right.
Constitutionally, it's against
Right.
the
Yeah.
Constitution. And you bring up a great point about the separation of the three branches, but not only the separation, but the the class educated us on the fact of which branch is the most powerful and the least powerful. And it's very interesting that really the judicial branch is the least powerful, but they have been regularly overstepping their bounds and
Yep.
have been pretending to be the most powerful. you know.
Well, a lot of people throw out there because they don't well, I shouldn't say because they throw out there the phrase separate but equal,
And that's
and
not
they don't understand what it means when they say it, that there's an equality in the three branches, in that one branch cannot dictate to the other branch what that branch has to do. So the
Mhm.
courts can't reach out to, or the legislature cannot reach out to the courts and tell the courts, the judicial branch, you will do this.
Mhm.
The judicial branch has every power and every right to look at the legislative or even the executive branches and say, you don't get to do that to us. And ultimately the courts can't look at the legislature and the legislative branches and say to them, you will do this.
No,
They
they
literally,
can't.
all
They're
they can do is review.
right.
Right.
Right. The legislative branch is the most powerful. And I honestly think when you bring up that was a very good clarification on the word, what that business about equality means. But I honestly think that the evil ones that have meant to usurp power and call themselves rulers instead of servants, have deliberately probably introduced that language because it is very easily for people to get confused about it and think that the actual branches are equal in their power, and they're not equal in their power.
They're equal in their independence.
They're
Right.
okay, right. And so therein again, the enemy does those kinds of things all the time, grabs a term or whatever, a word, and they'll throw it in there because it's easy for them to twist it and get people all confused. And so anybody who attends a constitutional life course, I guarantee you, is going to find at least one, if not 5 to 10 things that they didn't know about the Constitution, or more even possibly. But they are going to, maybe even feel a little slapped upside the head, like I did.
Well, that's not a very good selling point, Pam.
Well,
Don't tell people they're going to get beat up when they.
Eyes are gonna be opened. Let me tell you, there's so
come
much.
on, we're strong people, aren't we? I just mean, you're gonna, yeah.
Well, Lois, what were you going to say? Their eyes are going to be open. I'm assuming you were speaking from some experience there.
No, I honestly, when we took the course, I was just amazed at how much I did not know,
Mhm.
how much I did not know, and how much I gained from it.
Mhm.
It's very critical. People need to know this. They really do.
If you were, Lois, if you were going to pick something that you went into that class thinking you knew, like, okay, I know this, and my son-in-law is going to be running for governor. I've got this lockdown. I know these things. And then you walk out of that. What one thing did you think you knew that got absolutely blown out of the water for you?
Boy,
If you can't pick one, just give me a list.
you know what? The thing is that really, really, really blew me out of the water was there were so many pastors that signed that declaration, signed the Constitution, I should say. Okay. Oh, it was just amazing. So there you go. I mean, our nation is truly founded on God.
Mhm.
I don't know. There was just several,
Maybe this would be a good time to mention some of these other, I guess, little points that we picked out to share with everyone. For instance, did you know that our founding fathers knew they might very well be signing their death warrant when they signed either the Declaration and/or the Constitution? But they were willing to pay the ultimate sacrifice if necessary to give us this great republic. And to Lois's point about how many were actually pastors or ministers or,
clergy.
The Declaration of Independence really clarifies for us where our rights come from. It says, we hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, that to secure these rights, governments are instituted among men, deriving their just powers from the consent of the governed. So this flat out states our government officials are not our rulers, rather they are to protect us by behaving in ways that secure the rights God endowed us with. And this just shows the Constitution workbook that you can buy if you want a physical copy. It's an amazing, amazing reference book to have. We think it's well worth the purchase price, but there is also, once you register online for any class, you'll get access to an online version if that's all you want to keep it at. And
So speaking of registering online, one, where would people go to do that if they're interested in taking part in the class? And
yeah,
two, what's it cost?
okay. Can I get back with you on that? I just have a few other comments I
Oh
wanted.
yeah, absolutely. I'm like,
Yep,
well, as long as it's before the end of the video.
it, it will be here in just a couple more minutes. But I was showing the workbook because I wanted to mention them. There's just some specific pages. There's pages 80 and 81 in that workbook discusses a very important reason for the First Amendment right, freedom of religion, to have been written exactly that way rather than freedom of worship. Most people today who even understand this right is included in the First Amendment believe it to mean freedom of worship. However, if it had been worded that way, a key protection would be lost. And also, many people think the order of focus should be God, family, country, but one of our founding fathers said the order should be God, country, family.
Yeah, I disagree with him on that one.
Yeah. Yeah, I
But
know when you were at one of the meetings there that we were in together, you brought them up too.
I don't I think if what I will agree with is that if God is first in your nation, if you're actively putting God first in your nation, the other two are probably going to fall in line. Um,
Mhm.
so I know you're referring to Benjamin March. So
Rush.
or excuse me, yeah, Benjamin Rush. Sorry about that.
Mhm.
Uh, but I think that's pivotal is the fact that they went into it like they're predominantly for them. God has to be first.
Mhm.
And Alexis de Tocqueville even said that the United States Republic was great because of its passion for God, and I'm paraphrasing him, his passion for the passion of the Republic, the people of the Republic for God and for worship of God and for His objective morality, and stated that once America loses its objective morality based on Judeo-Christian principles, it's lost as a republic.
Correct. Yeah.
Right,
Yep.
right.
Yep. And that's another key point that they make is that the founding fathers believed and stated that a republic like ours is meant only for a moral and religious people. So it's just God and religious belief and morality is just all over this Constitution and the founding of this country. And the others that are usurping power, of course, knew that they would have to try to strip us of that, and that's why we find ourselves where we are today with the fight on our hands. But getting back to that,
Yeah, sorry, I went off on a rabbit
no,
trail.
you're okay. But getting back to this fight on our hands is we want to share just a short section from an article that we looked up just this morning preparing for this interview. And the article is called Perspectives on the Constitution, a Republic If You Can Keep It. And the section we want to share says, if there is a lesson in all of this, it is that our Constitution is neither a self-actuating nor a self-correcting document. It requires the constant attention and devotion of all citizens. There is a story often told that upon exiting the Constitutional Convention, Benjamin Franklin was approached by a group of citizens asking what sort of government the delegates had created. His answer was, a republic, if you can keep it. The brevity of that response should not cause us to undervalue its essential meaning. democratic republics are not merely founded upon the consent of the people, they are also absolutely dependent upon the active and informed involvement of the people for their continued good health. So, and I can go next into mentioning how to find a constitutional life course near you that you asked about earlier. It's really just 4 simple points. If you go to www.patriotacademy.com, and on that landing page, click the second red box that's titled Constitution Coach and Find a Class. And on the next screen, click the blue box titled Find a Class. And then there you can apply the appropriate filters for your area and the type of class you're interested in. They do offer 2 classes, the 6-week basic, you might call it, constitutional life course that we're offering. And they also have an 8-week biblical citizenship class that coaches can offer.
Okay. So it's the one that you're offering is a 6-week constitutional live program.
Correct.
How long is each night?
Usually you're definitely done and out of there by 2 hours, and we're doing ours from 7 to 9. Usually, and it's laid out like is coaches buy a set of DVDs, and then we'll show whatever the right portions are for each 6 of the 6-week sessions. Okay. And those are usually done within an hour and a half, so that there's some time if anybody wants to hang around for comments and whatever, but
and what, so when you go to the site, do you pay to take part in the class at the site? Do you pay at the site at the place where the class is taking place? Is there a cost?
No, these are completely free, both online or in-person classes. We are hoping that people that come to ours will come early enough and maybe go get a little something to eat over at the Mantorville Saloon. Since they're doing this for free, we may just mention that and just say if anybody wants to make a small donation, they can. But the classes themselves are free. Nobody's required to do that. And
I actually think that's a great idea, that people should, if they're really interested in going, they should show up an hour before and sit down and give their patronage to the Mantorville Saloon, especially considering they offered this space to you gratis. Like they literally, oh yeah, go ahead, by all means use it. Use the space. That's amazing, because it's going to cost them electricity and cleanup and maintenance and all that anyway. So
yep.
And I imagine they probably make good burgers.
They do actually offer burger, mostly a few pizzas, and they do. I thought I saw a burger on the menu, but it's
pub food.
Yep,
that's right.
It is.
That's right.
Yeah. It's not even really what you'd call a bar and grill. So
no, it's pub food.
Level, but hey, you know what? One night a week, why not? Right?
It's fitting to have a class on the Constitution in a pub. Or a tavern.
And actually, this was the former BFW hall.
Right.
It's even more fitting.
Right. That was next to the saloon then. So yeah. I mean, it is. It's very fitting.
Are the 2 2 rooms connected now, or do you have to?
No. They're separate doors. Yeah, and and they even let us. We ordered a banner. Created and ordered a banner, a 2x4 banner, and they have this little space in between the saloon and the hall, and with a really nice window, and they even let us hang that banner up there. So
how many people can you fit into that hall? Do you know how many? What the room is?
That's kind of what we're waiting to see. It may be that we have to limit the number. Because of the room.
That would be a really good problem to have.
We'll see, I guess. I think the more that this gets out there, people are going to want to know more about the
Mhm.
Constitution. I really do. And I think it's going to be something that we're going to see over time
Yeah.
pick up. So
And you two are the ones that are going to be facilitating the training and the conversations.
Yes. Mhm.
yeah, mainly it's just DVDs, you know, and
It really is.
Right.
Yeah.
it's through David Barton. I don't know if
Yep.
you know David Barton and Rick Green
Rick Green.
and his family. I mean, this family is awesome.
Yeah.
These little, even his children are so involved in, you know, preaching the Constitution. It's
Yeah.
just awesome. It's going to bring tears to your eyes. I guarantee it.
You know, the videos, like you say, with us being the commentator, whatever, we really don't.
Facilitators.
We facilitators, we don't
Yeah,
have to actually. It's probably even dangerous for us to try to make very many comments. I think that we'd like what we experienced was from the coaches who gave us the first class is they just opened it up for people to comment afterwards if they wanted to, like what did they learn from that, you know, what opened their eyes in that segment or whatever, because everything is really on the DVDs and in the workbook. And, you know, from somebody that are the two that are the experts, Rick Green and David Barton, and that, because not, so we don't want to get into it. And the less that, the more that you just do it that way, the more easily people can see, hey, this is easy to do. I can do it. Because what we need in this country is for this to spread like wildfire and say, you know, that what is that model of do one, teach one? What is that? It's like a 3-step model of where you go get it, and then you turn right around and you become a
teach it.
teacher.
Yeah.
You teach it.
You
know,
demonstrate, observe, and teach. So
Right.
it really, so you show how to do it once, and you have them do it once, and then they're able to do it.
yeah.
Is really.
Oh,
So here's a little quote for you from the workbook. You don't have to be super smart to understand the Constitution. The founding fathers were ordinary men, and the Constitution they made was for ordinary people.
oh, that's a great point, Lois.
Right.
Correct? Yes. So we're not smart. You know, we're just trying to get this out there, and hopefully, you know, we're just ordinary people.
Right.
Well, you know, I think one of the problems we have today is that in this is a reflection on the education system, frankly,
It
where
is.
this should, you know, is
It is.
those ordinary men back then were philosophers.
Yeah.
They were. They were, and quite frankly, we have this very highfalutin view of ourselves today because we have all this knowledge and all of this ability to look things up, oftentimes just in the palm of our hands.
Mhm.
Lois, I know you don't use a smartphone.
I do not.
Pam told on you.
That's okay, and I'm okay with that.
But
My
we
kids,
have all that information, right? We have all that information right here in the palm of our hands, and we think that we're so much more educated and so much more erudite than, you know, what could people from 200 and so years ago, what could they possibly understand? What could they teach us? And you think about all that's come before us, you know, the Euclidean geometry and, you know, Lockean philosophy or Rutherfordian philosophy, which are kind of the two places where the Declaration and the Constitution really kind of rose out of these two men writing about government and what government should look like, and they were philosophers. And we don't raise philosophers and teach philosophers anymore. We don't teach people to use critical thinking and reasoning skills anymore. It's something that a person has to have a passion for to go out and learn on their own. Otherwise, they're not going to learn it because we spoon feed everybody. So I'm with you that it is for the common man. It is for the common, you know, person. The problem is that the common people then aren't the same as common people now.
right.
You know, I get people, I do a 25-minute, I do a 10-minute video, and I have people say to me, That's too long. I don't have time to watch that.
It's sad, isn't it? Yeah.
And
They've destroyed the critical thinking on purpose.
yeah,
Is what really has happened. And also,
absolutely.
this addiction to these, they
Right.
addicted people to these things, on purpose. And two, and then the social media and whatever, so that because if you think about that, and look at Twitter, 40 characters. I mean, are you kidding me?
140
Oh, is it? Okay.
yeah,
Wow.
140.
140.
Wow.
But I haven't been in there in months or either in Facebook, but because I just got sick to death of them and they suspended me or whatever. But anyway, who cares? But yeah, everything has been into this, getting us into where we just skim, it's changing our brains. I read an article on that, long ago. It's actually really changing people's brains, all of this, where we just can't take thinking at those levels, like you said, that the
Right.
founding fathers were at. And yeah.
Yeah, there's absolutely no critical thought anymore. And we all think we're incredibly intelligent. But the school kids 200 years ago would laugh at what
Yes,
our kids learn today,
yes, they would.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So
And actually, that brings up a good point. Sorry to interrupt you, but
Yep, please.
this needs to go out to our teenager kids.
Mhm.
They're the next leaders, and I was even talking to my grandchildren, and I'm thinking that,
Welcome.
this is a good thing. We need to get them involved. It would be a good family thing. If you've got teenagers,
Yeah,
hey, bring them.
yeah, come as a family.
It's awesome.
I would love to see that, but boy, I would hate to be at home for that conversation. Where are we going? To a class. I'm not going. So you're going to be requiring everyone to have their coof jabs and wear facial coverings for the class, correct? Otherwise, no. They don't have to show their passports.
No.
Absolutely not.
Oh, okay.
We're firmly against that. And right now, there is none of that where they're trying to tell us that they can force us to even wear masks around here. And we're hoping that that isn't coming in the meantime. But,
Well,
we'll
I'd
cover
say
that.
if they try it in Mantorville, you should flood the streets of Mantorville, but I don't know if there's enough people in Mantorville to flood the streets. But there again, it is Mantorville, so there's only a couple of streets anyway, so it may not take long.
That's right.
So,
We're a pretty small town, that's for sure. But
and so you are not saying that only people from Dodge County. You'll take anybody, correct?
oh, we will.
Anybody.
But that's just because that's where we're from. That's the intention, right? Is that we're offering it out here. But anybody that hears about this, we'll take the first number of people up to as far as the maximum that we think we can fit in there, because we are going to show this on it's about a 27-inch wide TV, the DVDs. And so, it's not an incredibly huge screen. That's why we have to be cognizant of how many we feel we'll be able to fit in there, like in a semicircle, so everybody can still see that we allow in. So
Are you gonna provide coffee?
probably not coffee. We may provide water, and I'm not even sure if we're going to provide snacks versus suggest that people
Well, this
take.
is Minnesota. Coffee and water go hand in hand. I don't know.
I know, but I don't know. Versus suggesting people patronize the saloon for any kind of snack
Absolutely.
that they want, and just have water, right?
So,
Bring in what they want if they want to bring their own coffee.
There you go. Yeah, they can bring their own coffee.
bring your own coffee there. Yeah. So September 20th is the first night, and that happens to fall on a Monday.
Monday. They're all
And it starts at 7.
correct.
And we would love for everybody to go out to the Mantorville Saloon and get a burger or a pizza or something beforehand. And if they're in a rush and they don't have time to eat it all, before they come, bring your food and sit down and learn about the Constitution.
Right.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah.
Sounds good.
absolutely, and that's going to go on every Monday night for 6 weeks,
Hmm.
and so that'd take us basically to the end of October.
Right. October
Right.
25th is the
Okay,
last session. Hmm.
and then hopefully we can get enough interest that you fill the room, and you might have to offer another class.
Right. Yeah. Well, we're planning to keep offering them either, not necessarily winter, because winter you can have some pretty dicey weather as far as people getting here, but maybe again in March.
We're Minnesotans though. We will drive hours to get to a basketball game in the winter. I think we could.
That's true.
You know,
That's
Yeah.
true.
Paul Revere was riding in some pretty dicey weather, the way I understand it, and also Sybil, somebody was a woman,
Yep.
a young teenage gal,
Yep. She
actually,
took over for one of the riders.
who
Did she?
who rode
Okay.
Yeah.
also when it was storming
Yeah.
rain weather. So
Yeah. If it's who I'm thinking of, she took over for one of the riders because the rider just couldn't ride anymore, and
Mm.
so
Luddington, I think, is it Sybil Luddington? I
yep.
watched a movie on that. It was so interesting on her.
Yeah, there were some very strong-willed
Women.
colonial women
Yeah,
Right.
involved in the fight. So
yeah.
there you have it. These two young ladies are passionate about the Constitution, and it has reinvigorated them. They are now to the point where they would like to facilitate a conversation with you. Look, if you're not in Dodge County, it doesn't matter, and they would love to have the problem to have of enough people being interested in this that they have to offer the class more than once. Come, show up, bring your hearing aids if you need it. So if you can't sit right next to the TV, at least you can hear, and patronize the Mantorville Saloon when you come, and don't hesitate to show up, and don't worry about feeling stupid because you don't know something, because I guarantee you're going to walk away not knowing something, but you'll know by the end. This is incredibly important to us. The patriots and constitutionalists need to themselves come alive, and they need to start standing up on the bedrock of what this country was built on, and why it was built, and why all of this is important. Because if you're looking around, most of our public servants, both elected and appointed, have no idea what any of this means, and they have no idea what they're doing other than seizing power for themselves. And once they take it, they're never going to give it up. It's up to us to fight to get it back. So, as always, like I close all of my videos, don't worry about your safety. Fight for your liberty and your freedom, and Sic Semper Tyrannis.